Welcome back to We're Not Your Typical.
Today on the show, we have the gorgeous Kirsty.
Also known as Mama and Tommy on social media. Kirsty talks to us all about ARFID.
Enjoy the show!
Thank you so much to PCB Partners for sponsoring this amazing episode. PCB Partners are a global boutique M&A firm for the digital-first economy, providing buy-side and sell-side services, with a focus of disruptive technologies, digital transformation, management consulting, and creative marketing services businesses. Kirsty.
Hi.
Hi. We finally got you on our show. Thank you so much.
No worries. Lovely to be here.
Thank you. We are so interested in your journey with Tommy. I think you help so many people all over TikTok and Instagram, and you're very relatable.
Yeah.
But there's one thing we really want to talk about, and it's a topic that we haven't really covered.
Okay.
This is ARFID.
Yep.
Tell anyone that's listening what ARFID is all about.
Okay, so ARFID is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, and it's quite a complex condition because there are a lot of criteria for it. A lot of things will write you off of having an ARFID diagnosis, but it was actually created back in 2013. It was put into the DSM-5, and it was put in because there was nothing to explain the way a lot of children with ADHD, autism, OCD, the way that they were eating and how particular they were. And it wasn't even just that it was so particular, it was so extreme. And it used to be put down as selective eating disorder other. And there was no support or anything. It was just that's what it is. And that's why the American Psychiatric Association got together to say, we need something for this. It's happening more and more. It's very clear that this is an issue. We need something. So they created ARFID, and it has quite a lot of criteria within it, and that's why people struggle to get a diagnosis for ARFID, because it's very tight.
And it's, I guess, new.
Yes, it's what, 11 years old.
Yeah,
11,
which
12,
I guess
12
you
years
would
old.
still call new, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So what are the criteria? What do you have to...
So one of the main criteria is it's less than 15 foods. So a lot of people will come to me and say, I think my child has ARFID. They'll give me a list, and I'm like, yeah, the minute you've gone way over 15, I agree with you. It's very much the same, and you should be using the same supports. But the minute you've gone over 15 foods, if you're looking at 25, 30 foods, they're not even going to refer it to a paediatrician. So it is less than 15 foods. So that's the first one. The second one is they leave out entire food groups. So Tommy doesn't eat any protein whatsoever. So he will eat a chicken nugget, but he just takes off the batter.
Sounds like me. That's the best bit.
He just leaves the batter. Just eats the batter, leaves the chicken. He doesn't eat any protein whatsoever. And the only dairy he actually has is cheese. And for a while, he wasn't really eating his pizzas or anything. So he was actually not having any dairy either.
Sorry, so what does he eat?
So at the moment, so his main safe foods are watermelon, chocolate chip brioche, Whatsits, Quavers, and cheese toasty. That's the main 5 things that he eats.
And do these go through phases?
Yes, so he now, after 2 years of me working with him, has 30 foods on his list.
Brilliant.
They are under those 25 are under his safe foods. Sometimes 5 are unsafe.
Got you.
So 5 will
Come and go.
no matter what. Those 5 will stay.
Okay.
The others, grapes, he'll eat loads for weeks. Won't touch them for months. Yeah. Cucumber, I'd say, is about a 70% of whether he'll eat it or not. Apple, I'd say, is probably 20% he'll eat it. He'll literally surprise you one day and go, apple. And I'm like, all right. And I'll get him an apple. And then other times I'm putting it in front of him and I'm eating it.
I found that with banana. She used to love a banana, and now she doesn't want to. Bailey doesn't now want to touch a banana. Do you think it's because once we find that food that they love, do we over give it to them because we're so happy and excited that we found a new food for them that we're actually giving it to them too much and they're getting sick of it?
Some of it is, and some of it is them eating it a lot. So it's very, very common within autism and ADHD in particular to have food jags, which is where you hyperfixate on a food and then you don't want to eat it for ages.
Makes sense. My son hyperfixated on tomatoes for so long. Yeah. You can't look at a tomato now.
Yeah, exactly. And
so fascinating.
Yeah, and when they've only got 5 foods, they don't have anything else to choose from.
Yeah.
So you're only able to give them 5, and then one of those comes out of that food jag, and they're like, oh, I don't want to eat it now. And you're like, well, great, now we only have 4 foods.
Oh, I can imagine.
I couldn't
It scares me.
That. Yeah.
Like, they're not getting the right... My daughter is definitely not getting what she should be getting through food.
No.
Nor vitamins.
No. I mean, there are stuff you can add if they will take it. Flavourless. You have to find flavourless.
Flavourless.
Tommy will...
What's flavourless?
Anything, like, so you can get, like, iron drops and things that they literally do not taste of anything. Yes. Tommy, we put Calpol in his bottle when he's ill, and he has started to sense that, and he will not touch his drink at all. And he only drinks Vimto, won't drink anything else.
I loved Vimto. That was my pregnancy drink.
That's so mad. I know. I so disagree. It's got such a specific taste.
Yes.
Like, it's not for me at all. How interesting.
Addicted to Vimto pregnant.
Yeah,
I can't look at it.
It's delicious.
So tell me then, if you bought Vimto from the shop, but then you went to Aldi and there was like a copy of a dupe, whatever you want to call it, will he notice the difference in taste?
For most people with ARFID, I would absolutely say they'll be able to tell straight away. Tommy isn't quite that particular, but I think with Vimto he would. It's one I wouldn't even want to try it. Yeah. I don't even want to risk it. And plus, it's the only thing he drinks, so I wouldn't want to risk it. But he will, like things like he'll eat Wotsits. He will eat Asda Wotsits. Like he doesn't. He's not that with the brand. As long as it's a cheesy, crunchy taste,
the texture,
he's not that bothered. Yeah. Like you can have fake Quavers and fake.
That helps a bit,
That
right?
does, because when we were on holiday, we were able to get him Cheetos.
Yes.
When we were in Zante, great Cheetos.
Yes.
So it was, and we could get chocolate chip brioches over there.
Yeah.
But and watermelon, obviously, everywhere. That was no problem.
Yeah.
But we had to take 2 litres of Vimto in our suitcase.
Wow.
Because there's nothing else.
Yeah. So we touched on obviously those reasons. Is there any others?
Yeah. So there's 4. So you've got the food. They will leave out entire food groups, have to have under 15 foods. There has to be no physical condition that can account for it. So if somebody has, a throat problem or a stomach problem or something, it won't be ARFID. It will be down to whatever
a medical condition.
So like IBS or anything
if it's anything like that. It cannot be governed by body image. So that would be when it would go down to bulimia nervosa and anorexia nervosa rather than ARFID. So it cannot have anything to do with body image. It is mainly a childhood and infancy diagnosis. However, there are 5 different types, and one of them is called adult ARFID, because people do continue through their life and still have ARFID, or can gain it, usually from like something like aversion or something like that, like being scared of something. And then finally, there's 4 criteria that you have to hit at least one. The first one is to be underweight, but you do not have to be underweight to be diagnosed with ARFID. And I think this is the problem that GPs have. They go, well, that your child weighs fine. But that doesn't matter, because they're eating enough of their safe food that of course they're going to weigh fine. Of course they're not going to be losing weight, because they're eating 20 bags of Wotsits. So it's high calories, of course they're going to not lose weight. So that isn't a criteria. It's, you have to have one of the 4. So underweight, relying on supplements for nutrition. So having to have, knowing that your iron, you're not getting any iron in your diet, and having to have that, and there's no other way of getting it naturally. Having an actual deficiency, so when your bloods are done, you are actually deficient. It's not just we think we're not getting enough. There is actually the deficiency. And the final one, which was the one Tommy had, was a marked interference with psychosocial functioning.
Wow.
Which means it affects your social ability. So Tommy could not be around food, couldn't be around people eating, he couldn't be in restaurants, and that is usually one of the most common, especially within autism, because food is so scary. So they don't, going into a restaurant, you've suddenly got all this noise, you've got all this smell, you know that there's food, you think people are going to offer you food, and suddenly you've gone into meltdown.
How do you know that is a reason? Oh, the meltdown, I suppose.
Yeah, it'll be the meltdown.
I was going to say, being non-verbal, how do you know that's the reason he's getting upset? Is because the food's around?
I think because it usually happens at home and out, and at nursery and things like that, they become very distressed around food. That's when you can tell because it's happening everywhere. Whereas if it's only when you go in restaurants, you could think, oh, maybe it's the noise, maybe it's the people, maybe it's the bright lights. But because it's happening at nursery and it's happening at home, they won't eat at the table with you. I mean, Tommy would literally, he walked in once, we had a Domino's pizza and it's a box. And he's like, what's in here? Lifted it and he literally was like Dracula opening garlic. Wow. He was like that, no, and ran off. And we're like, we didn't make you open the box. Like, you did it.
Don't blame us.
He literally went, arms over his face and legged it out of the room because once he saw it, it's like...
He was petrified of it.
And it's like, well,
So lots of people have different ways of reacting, right? So we had someone recently on that's coming out soon, so I won't say who, but with their child, they will look at food and vomit.
Yes, yeah.
So what was Tommy's reaction, and when did you start to notice his age when it came to that?
Yeah, so Tommy's actually happened overnight. Tommy ate quite well. He always had... So when we started with purees when he was about 5 months old, and he was heaving and gagging, and I was like, he's not ready. And I had been a nursery nurse for 10 years, and I dealt with under 18 months. I weaned God knows how many kids, and I'd never ever seen a child heave and vomit at food. He couldn't swallow it or anything. I was like, he's shuddering, he's not ready. And I'd done loads of purees.
Bear in mind, you were a nursery nurse, but you're also a mum of 3.
Yeah, exactly. I had 2 other children, and they were both like, one was 11 weeks old, one was 12 weeks old, and they were piggies. They ate so much, and they were weaned very early because they were hungry. And I was like, no, he's not ready. And that is sort of one of the criteria: can they sit up? Can they swallow? Are they reaching for food? Do they heave and gag? And I was like, he's not ready. It's just one of those things. And he was over 6 months when he finally took purees. And when he ate foods, he was still funny compared to the other 2 and compared to all the other children I'd weaned. Something, I was like, he's really weird with food, but it's fine. He's eating. It's not the end of the world. My middle son didn't eat any vegetables, but he ate fruit, so okay. And then when he was 16 months old, he went to bed one night and he had started saying mama. He'd started blowing raspberries, and he was, getting ready for speech. He drank out of a beaker. He would feed himself a yogurt. And he woke up the next morning and he refused to eat food at all. He would not drink out of his beaker. He was petrified of food. The beaker went completely. It was bottle only. The milk went overnight, like everything. And he would only eat watermelon and the yogurt. The yogurt dropped off after a few days, and he was only eating watermelon. We got to day 10, and I went to the doctors and said, look, we think maybe he's had a cold. He's got a sore throat. He's not eaten. And she checked. She said, well, I can't really see anything, but obviously as a 16-month-old autistic, they're not letting you get in their mouth anyway.
Not. But you didn't know then?
Well, I knew he was autistic from 9 months, but he wasn't diagnosed, but I knew. But the ARFID, I'd never heard of it. No. So I didn't know anything about the food side of it. But I knew that she wasn't going to get that stick in his mouth to check the back of his throat, No. I knew what he was like. But she said, I can't really see anything. And the thing that annoys me the most about that doctor's appointment was, I said to her, I'm a bit concerned because after 10 days of only eating watermelon, that this might affect him eating going forward, because I know how much introducing children to new foods helps them know food. Yeah. And I said, will it affect him? And she went, no. And I was like, excuse me? Is this how we talk to people? I was like, that's so
She thought you were so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I said to, when obviously Dave, when Tommy got diagnosed, I said to Dave, at that appointment, she should have said, well, it shouldn't really, but do you have any other concerns about him? Mm-hmm. Well, yes, the health visitors put him on the pathway for autism. Maybe this is autistic eating, or maybe this is ARFID. Have a look at this, and this.
She just
dismissed me completely. Yeah. Like, of course he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Of course he'll eat again. Like, oh, he'll get over it. It was very like,
how wrong was she?
Snort. Yeah. And here we are. He's only 5, and he's still watermelon mad. It's still just watermelon is the main thing. But it should have been asked at that point. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought so. But do you have any other concerns? Because the fact that he couldn't point, clap, wave, he wasn't speaking, he wasn't all of these things that developmentally were all signs that he was autistic, and the health visitor had already put him on the pathway. He'd been put on the pathway about
And surely
6,
those notes should be on their files.
Yeah. And nothing. I was just snorted at. So, yeah.
It's very frustrating. I even went to the doctor yesterday. My son's got celiac, and we saw the doctor, and she went, "Hello there. What can I do for you today?" I was literally like, I actually said, "Sorry."
Yeah.
Like,
have you not read his file
like,
first?
Yeah.
You've booked me in. We've been referred to you. But even the same when you're pregnant or you're giving birth, and then they switch midwives, and then they don't
know anything.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah. Every single appointment I take Tommy to for anything, I have to say, "Oh, he's non-verbal autistic." And they're, "Oh, is he?" Should that not be at the top of the notes?
The star at the top.
Yeah, just a little, just to let you know, just so the doctor knows. And I'm like talking to them, and they're like, "Right, is he?"
So, is there any benefits from having the diagnosis?
Do you want an honest answer?
Yeah, of course.
No.
Okay.
If you speak to anyone who has a child with ARFID with a diagnosis, they will tell you they get no support anyway. Unless they need a feeding tube, they're just put from different people or not seen at all. Because all the while the child isn't losing weight, no one will really see them. So until the child becomes sick, until they hit a danger point, they won't do anything.
Will everyone hit a danger point?
No. For me, from everyone I speak to and everyone I see, if the child is allowed to eat their safe foods, unless all those safe foods disappear, they shouldn't hit a danger point, because they've got some foods.
They've still got a balance.
Still got calories.
Yeah.
They've still got calories, and you do have the way. A lot of children are on things like Fortini and Pedisure and things like that, and they can get the nutrients in. Is it ideal? No. But I think sometimes people forget that the way we eat is very down to society and enjoyment and entertainment.
Yeah.
And just as much as I don't like watching a football game, and my partner, everyone in my family does, they've got season tickets and things, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, I'm so bored."
Oh, it's coming up soon, isn't it? The football season. Dreading it.
My daughter's just booked her tickets for the first game. Yeah.
We love it in our house.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I hate it. Yeah, no, I'm not. It's not for me. That's a societal thing. We don't all have to like it, and sitting there eating a meal and enjoying different tastes and flavours and enjoying foods around the world is a societal thing. It's not, as long as you're just getting enough to keep your body functioning.
Well, it's kind of like, do you eat to live or live to eat?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount of people that say to me, "I'm really worried my child's only eating this," and then I list the nutrients in their foods, and they're like, "Really?"
I worry so much.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I have friends whose child only eats one food, and I know there are horrible and worrying times, absolutely. But sometimes if your child's eating like 5 foods and you look at them, you go, actually, there's protein in this. Mm-hmm. There's dairy in this. There's fats in this. Yes, it's a processed chocolate chip brioche, but actually Tommy gets most of his protein from his brioches. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's because it comes in the bread form. Yeah. So it's because he doesn't eat any meat.
Yeah, I think it's more us than them in a way. Like, exactly. I think, God, how boring must it be? I'm giving her chicken nuggets for the 5th time this week, but because actually they don't care.
Yeah, to us, we're like, I'd be bored eating that. But for them, they're like, I'm just eating for fuel. I just need enough energy so I can zoom up and down the room for 20 minutes.
Right.
I don't need anything else. And I think, it's very easy to forget, because we hear so much about processed foods. It's very easy to forget that there are nutrients in them. Mm-hmm. Just because they're heavily processed doesn't mean
but that's what also, not worries me, but you hear a lot about, change their diets and, maybe the gut to the brain might help them perform or not perform.
Progress.
Progress, perform. But so that also is always at the back of my head. Well, I'm giving, fried chicken nuggets from the frozen. If she ate more, would I be able to give her foods that were better, that might help her?
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of nutrients that can quite heavily affect what they eat, which is iron and zinc.
Yeah.
So those two, if you can get them in as a supplement, they could potentially open up foods.
That's
but
what we've been told.
It's not guaranteed either.
No, of course
it's
not.
Nothing's
guaranteed.
Because unless the child's deficient in them in the first place,
yes,
without a blood test, you won't find out.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it, and we all sit there and we take supplements, and we're all sitting there. The amount of people I see taking vitamin C, and they're going to the toilet and it's bright yellow, and it's like, because you didn't need vitamin C. It's a water absorbing vitamin that your body can only absorb so much of. You're just making a very expensive toilet trip.
Yeah.
You didn't need it in the first place.
But this is what we always say.
Great, have it,
we take things because we're told to, or we hear it, or we get advised, but we don't really know if it's the right thing or not.
And we don't know if we necessarily
But then to have all those blood tests done, not through the NHS, because I don't think they would do them.
Pay for them anyway.
You're looking at thousands of pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then if you find out that they weren't deficient in zinc and iron,
then
giving them the zinc and iron is probably not going to change their diet.
It's been a waste of time.
And it's been a waste of time. Yeah, you'd have to
I've always said that to you. Like, my fear is, I don't know what she lacks in, so I don't want to give her any. But by me not giving her any, I might be not damaging her, but not helping her.
All that would happen is the body will get rid of it. So if you were concerned enough to think, is this going to make a difference? If you add iron or zinc drops into their bottle or whatever, and if it's flavourless and it's not going to put them off the drink or the food, because for some kids it will, and it's just not worth the risk. But if you can try it for a couple of months. If it doesn't change anything, stop buying it.
Yeah.
Because it's a waste of money. They weren't deficient in it in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's like everything we can buy off the shelf. Everything, it doesn't need a prescription.
No.
So if you can put it in the bottle, if it changes the way they eat, fabulous. Keep giving it to them. Change the food. If it doesn't, they weren't deficient.
Yeah.
But there's no way of knowing without the blood test for definite.
Sorry to interrupt this episode. Please take a moment to like and subscribe our channel. It means the world to us. Do you think they can not grow out of it?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. I don't know if that's a really uneducated
because I'm going to, because I am uneducated in it.
It's the right word.
Obviously, they don't grow out of any diagnosis like autism, but can they grow out of ARFID? Can it become...
It's separate in the brain. When you speak to a lot of therapists who deal with ARFID with children, especially those who are verbal and can have a conversation, they teach them that ARFID, they do something like, it's like Mr. Brain and Mr. ARFID, and they're separate from each other. ARFID it is recoverable, and you can recover from ARFID, but you will always have food issues, but you can recover from it.
And is there a therapist that can help with that?
In the UK, it's few and far between. In fact, in the UK, some National Health Trusts don't even have a doctor who is trained in ARFID, so they can't even diagnose. So some children in some counties cannot even get a diagnosis because there isn't one to provide one. So there's then not anyone to help.
Fucking mental.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. There should be. It's like saying, "Oh, I have cancer. Oh, sorry, we don't have anyone that deals with breast cancer, or we don't have
no one that specialises.
Yeah, we don't have anyone." And you wouldn't have that with any other thing. So to actually sit there and have a whole hospital, a whole National Health Trust, not even just a hospital, a whole trust, not have somebody who is trained in ARFID
do you think because it's not life-threatening, or is that me being stupid?
I think
and because the spectrum is so big, so wide as well, it's like they don't know answers. Yeah. They don't have the answers to autism, to ARFID, or
they don't. Yeah, so it's sort of like, okay, is the child well in themselves? Yes. Okay. Well, we don't need to do anything. We have, I think it's five centres in the UK. One at Great Ormond Street, and then there's 4 others that deal primarily with childhood eating disorders, and they will deal with ARFID.
So is it under as an eating disorder?
It is an eating disorder.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
I would have thought.
Yeah, you've got binge eating, bulimia, anorexia, ARFID, and I think there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head. But
can you develop ARFID?
Yes.
Without any other diagnosis?
Yes. ARFID is not...
So it's not. It doesn't come hand
under
in
the
hand
umbrella
with autism or ADHD.
No, anyone can have ARFID. There are very few people. It is very rare to have ARFID. Full stop. I mean, I think in the UK it's something like 160,000 people are diagnosed with ARFID, and some of those are adults. And they've gained it through their life. So because there are 5 different types, usually something like a sensory-based ARFID isn't something you would develop. That's more your autism, sensory, no? And that does tend to be more with somebody who has sensory processing disorder or sensory issues within autism.
Yeah.
And you tend to be born like that. That's your sensory profile. That's what you like and you don't like. Whereas if you have aversion, which means you've had an adverse reaction to something, so you could have had an allergy, you could have choked,
you've now got fear of it.
You now have a fear. That can happen to anyone at any point. Yeah. Anyone can sit there, choke in a restaurant, then start being scared of food going forward.
Could they just be scared of that food?
They could be, and
which
it would
then
only
wouldn't be
ARFID
ARFID
if they would drop right down. If they then became scared of all foods and didn't eat at all, and it was just, and they were like maybe just on a liquid diet.
If they had less than 15 foods.
Basically, if they went right down to 15 foods, they're just like keeping themselves on this little thing, and it goes on for, I think if I remember rightly, there's a criteria. It has to be a minimum of 6 months of something happening. So you won't even get seen if it's only just started to develop. So it has to be over 6 months. I'm sure it's 6 months, not 12. And then they would say, okay, we need to have a look maybe into the fact that this has become an eating disorder.
But what's the point? If there's no support or there's not any help or any... I know there's no cure for it.
No.
But then what's the point of getting the diagnosis?
Well, this is the thing.
Am I being naive?
The diagnosis can help things like on the EHCP, so it can help with the school not forcing them to eat or not forcing them to sit down. So there are pros and cons.
Benefits.
There are definitely benefits to having it.
Okay.
But my point to a lot of people quite often is, go ahead, fight for a diagnosis. It will help on the EHCP. It will help explain things to people. But if you spend all your energy focusing on fighting the system to get a diagnosis, you are going to get to the end of the diagnosis and go, okay, no one's still helping me.
Yeah.
So why not have a look at different ways that you can help your child through different types of therapy, whether that's a sensory therapy, whether it's something like SOS approach to feeding or things like that can help your child. Still fight for the diagnosis if you want, but don't wait for the diagnosis because there's still nothing.
Choose your time basically wisely. Instead of fighting so hard, maybe use that time and help your child.
Exactly. There's a lot of, fighting for SEND schools, massive things that can help with that, because you're going to be putting them into education. Fighting for something like that is huge. But fighting for an ARFID diagnosis for support, you will find yourself at the other end with the same support as you had while you were fighting, because it's just not there, unfortunately. And I wish I could say, get, fight for the diagnosis. It's hard to get, but then there's this.
Then they're going to help you with this. And
Tommy's seen dietitian twice.
And nothing.
I've done everything myself, and I've had to research.
But plus, you probably don't need to hear from the dietitian, not in a disrespectful way, but you know your child more than the dietitian does.
But only because I know him, but also I studied hard to find how I could help him, and that was the only way I was going to, because the dietitian was like, well, okay, we'll just see in 6 months and see if his weight's changed. And that was pretty much it. Yeah. There was nothing else, because while I was waiting, I had to find ways to help him anyway. So I'd started to help him, and she was like, I can't really tell you much else.
Tell us, if any parents are going through it, kind of at the early stages, probably in denial, probably forcing in the nicest possible way, because you're probably so desperate to get your children to eat.
Yeah.
What advice could you give them if they're kind of starting their journey? What advice could you give them for that?
So the first thing I always say to people is let them eat their safe foods. Like we've just said, food for us is a social thing, and we're thinking this must be boring for them. We need to get this in them. If they have no calories in them and they have no sugar in them, that's when there's a problem. And if you're saying, right, I'm not going to let you've got to eat this meal, otherwise you're not having anything, that child's going hungry.
So it's party rings for breakfast.
Exactly. If they want party rings or onion rings,
that's what I did this morning.
Absolutely fine. In fact, take one yourself and dunk it in a coffee.
I did exactly that.
Exactly that. It's brilliant.
She left half of one. I picked it up off the floor and I ate it with my coffee.
Oh, she had it on the floor as well. Good for you, babe.
On the floor. Brilliant. Love it. Definitely do that. But it's just let them eat their safe foods. Let meal times be the times they get their body fuel. It's like trying to run a car on without petrol. They need the carbs. They need the calories. They need that sugar. Whatever it is that's going to keep them alive. Basically, let them have it because we need the calories.
I feel like if we're going to force them the food as well, it's only going to put them off of it. It's going to make it worse. Yeah,
they're going to get scared of it. The more you force it, the more it's going to be. Like,
so what you're saying is just let them eat their safe foods.
While I'm listening to this, I'm then thinking, just for example, with my children, and I know how they work with their minds, if I'm just going to give in and my kids do not have ARFID.
If your child doesn't have ARFID.
Right, but if a parent is unsure.
Yeah. Like me. Use me as an example.
Yes, yes, you're unsure.
I'm very unsure. My child will eat chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Maybe fish fingers, always a chip or an ARFID or a smiley, because I think if it looks different, it feels better for me.
Yep.
Because I think they're having something different, but it's still a potato. Pizza.
Yeah.
That is it for a meal.
Yeah. And they are all very autistic and ARFID foods.
Yeah. Very beige.
Yeah.
Cucumber. And then snack-wise, she will eat snacks till the sun comes down. Yeah. But food-wise, no.
Yeah, Tommy, like food-wise, it's just a cheese toastie. And if we're lucky.
I've had a bagel, a toasted bagel.
Yeah, he'll have
anything with a crunch.
Crunch. Is she a sensory seeker by any chance?
No. Well, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Explain a sensory seeker to me.
Okay, so there's 4 sensory profiles.
Yeah.
So the 2 main ones that we hear about is a seeker and an avoider. And a seeker is someone who doesn't process the sensory input around them at the same speed, I'd say, like to get full up. I
don't even understand that.
So when they hear a noise, for example, the best
noise doesn't
bother her.
It's as if it's not even there. She can't even hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually a seeker behaviour. So a seeker is someone they won't notice the lights. They don't notice the sounds.
I would have seen it totally separate. I would have seen it totally differently. Sorry, I would have seen a sensory seeker as they have to have the lights going. They love the flashing.
That's why
she hates all of that though.
She doesn't hate it though. She doesn't care about it.
She doesn't care about it. She doesn't see it.
She's not like, oh my God, it's a bright light. I need to run away.
She's not seeking it.
What she's doing.
I think she's avoidant.
No, so what she's doing, this is the thing that people often say to me, can they be an avoider and a seeker? And I'm like, no, what they're doing is they're seeking out what's good for them. So in a way, they're avoiding things that doesn't meet their sensory need. So they do not care about the lights. They don't care about the sounds. They're really not bothered because they're not feeling it. They're not seeing it. Whereas an avoider is very... I can see everything. I can feel everything. Everything's so intense.
No, she's a seeker.
She's a seeker.
And she does chew on chew the whole time.
Yeah. You might find she's one of the other 2 profiles because there's 4. So the other 2...
Totally made this about me, by the way, my daughter, but I'm all for it. Continue.
But the thing is, the sensory side of it is a massive impact on ARFID anyway. Mm-hmm. So you've got 4 profiles and, as I say, mainly people... see sensory avoiders and sensory seekers, but you also have a sensory sensitive and you have a bystander or a register, depending on who you're speaking to as to what they've learned. And those 2 are where somebody is passive at dealing with their sensory needs, whereas the seekers and avoiders are active. So Tommy will actively stim. He will actively seek out something if he needs his cup filling, whereas an avoider will actively move away from those things, whereas the other 2, they are very passive in that, and then they explode when, so say someone is like an avoider and doesn't like all of that, they won't actually do anything to try and stop it until they explode, and that's why you end up with a massive meltdown.
Because she is quite passive.
I think she's a seeker.
Do you?
The food you've said sounds very seeker.
She's a sensory seeker.
And she humps. Like, she likes that movement.
Yeah, so she's vestibular seeker and proprioception seeker then.
You're so clever.
I know.
This is all by you studying, right? And learning.
I've done training as well. I'm sensory integration trained, sensory modulation trained.
Wow.
And I have done DIR floor time training as well.
Wow.
Plus, obviously, I was an early years practitioner, so I knew about early years development and did it for 10 years. Okay, I had to relearn everything for autism because it was very different, but I knew how typical it was and how the body, like even now I can, when we had Tommy's ed psych, I was talking about him going up the stairs and I said, yeah, I'd say he's about 22 months at that. And she was like, how have you got it so specific? Because she looked and she was like, that is literally spot on. I said, well, as an early years practitioner, she went, well, as hazard a very good one then, because off the top of your head.
That's brilliant.
But I'm a knowledge storer. I'm like a big sponge. Once it goes in, it
brilliant. We know when we need to ask questions.
Yes, exactly.
So do you or your partner have any neurodivergence in you?
So I am self-diagnosed both ADHD and autistic. Okay. I'm very convinced that my partner's ADHD, and I thought that before I even anything about me. Like when we first met, some of the things I'm like,
ADHD, babe.
It's not. So that's a very boy ADHD thing. Whereas I only realised after having Tommy. That's pretty much it. I'm not sure on my other two.
Yeah.
You don't know with them too.
But they're older and they're kind of independent.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't really mind about having...
No, my daughter, I never thought anything until recently.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people say that when you've got more of a severe autistic or ADHD child, that's when you can start...
Well, you start looking at how to help your child.
Yeah.
You start looking to find out what's going on with them and how you can help them and what they're doing. And then you start going, hang on a minute. Mm-hmm. That sounds like me.
That sounds familiar.
And, and for me, the ADHD side was the one that literally made me sit and sob, because I've hated so much about myself. Like, being clumsy has always been one of those things that people, she'll trip over and pattern in the carpet. I remember being like 3 years old and hearing my parents go, no, I know, she's always got bruises, she's always falling. I talk fast, I talk loud, I don't draw a breath, and because I'm hyperverbal.
You hyperfocus as well.
And I'm just like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And my whole life was, Kirsty, did you even draw a breath? Or, I'm in the same room as you don't need to shout. And I'm like, I don't know I'm shouting. And it used to fill my eyes up with tears, lump in my throat.
So fascinating how you can really remember word by word what people would say around you, and that you've lived with that.
For literally my whole life, the clumsiness and the talking was constantly, and what colour's the sky in your world was always like, the way that I used to, like, I was so daydreamy, and that there's a whole village going on in here. I've solved the housing crisis in my village.
Love that.
There's like a whole thing going on in there. And I was very much like imaginative friends, very storytelling, and I used to write actual like magazines at the weekend. I used to sit there and make my little stapler and my pens and be out studying frogs and make these like booklets and that, because I loved studying. So obviously that's now paying off. Now I've got Tommy.
It's so paying off, because
definitely. Your purpose.
Forget you just being Tommy's mum and really understanding and learning about Tommy. With your social medias, you are teaching so many people with the right things that we need to hear and the correct knowledge. Yeah. And so forget all those trauma messages that you've got in your head. Yeah. You're using all that to help thousands and thousands of people.
I totally agree.
Yeah. No, but it's the truth. And you should absolutely hats off for that, honestly. Like, you should use that, because there must have been struggles, and of course if you've got a diagnosis or a self-diagnosis, like, it's all coming out to think, okay, but now what can I do? And now I'm helping so many people, and you go on your lives, we've done a live together, and you've just, the knowledge is incredible. I mean, Jade and I were saying before, Jade asked a couple of questions on Instagram. When I ask questions, we luckily get so many people that reply, to the point that we get, can I speak on behalf of us?
Go for it.
So overwhelmed that we end up doing nothing.
Yeah. That's exactly where I'm at.
That's where we are. And I think with you've got so much knowledge now that's stuck with what you want to do for your child and yourself, and you can go ahead and do it. Yeah. So we need to take a leaf out of your book, basically.
Well, I actually think I need you to come round. No, I'm serious. I need you to look at even a day, look at my daughter and tell me what she's seeking and what because I said this on the last podcast, and I stand by it. I don't know how to help my child. Yeah. I don't know if she needs that, needs this, what can help her relax, what can help her regulate, what can help her sensory needs. I have got not a clue. Yeah. You know how, like, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to you, and you know how to help Tommy. I don't know how to help Bailey.
Yeah, but the thing is, I didn't know.
So how did you find it? Because she's obviously non-verbal and non-communicative at the moment. So I don't know. I started with sensory.
I started learning about sensory, and like most parents, when you first realise they're autistic and you start looking at different things, I was one of those people. I thought there were 5 senses, And then I learned there were 8. And I was like, good school system that we have.
Can you tell us the 8? I only know 7. I don't know the 8.
I know 5.
The 8th is usually interoception. People tend to not know what that one is.
No, what that means.
So obviously you have, this is like when I do the 7 dwarfs and I keep repeating the same one. So you have your olfactory, which is your smell. So that's your sense of smell. You have oral, which is all your sense of taste. Then you have your sight, which is your visual and your sight. You have your hearing, so your auditory. This is where
I know. Me too.
Where have I gone?
You've done eyes, nose,
touch, tactile.
Yes.
So you have your touch, you have tactile, and then you have the 3, which are very, very common to be seeking behaviours as well, which is your vestibular, which is your inner ear, and it is what protects us from hitting our heads, basically. It's what keeps us upright. It knows our balance, works out where our head's at, basically.
Shit balance, by the way.
Yep, same here. And then you have your proprioception, which is how you know where you are in space. So it's the muscle and joint input that you get. So it's how you know how to lift up here. You know, like if you ever lift up the kettle and it's actually got no water in and you end up going like that. That's your proprioception, because your body is programmed to think that it's a certain weight because you've always done that. And then, or when you go to step off a step and there isn't one there and you go down.
Yeah, I know exactly that feeling.
And your proprioception. Yeah, and you're like, oh, now I've gone. And then you have your interoception, and that is your internal organs. So that is knowing whether you need the toilet, whether you're hungry, whether you've got a stomach ache or anything like that. And that is one of the things with ARFID is the interoception, is some people just don't know they're hungry. So they don't
or the opposite, like Callie, doesn't stop
eating because they don't know
that's
where
so fascinating.
And that's interoception.
I don't know what one she is.
Yeah. Well, you can, all of
That's
those, we use, even as neurotypical people, just as humans, we use all of those to learn. That's how we learn. We are massively sensory beings. And learning about the sensory system meant I could tend to Tommy's needs in so many different ways. That came to food, his stimming. It told me what he wanted to learn, because I could tell what he was doing based on his sensory needs.
Give me an example.
So, I'm trying to think of one for learning. So, Tommy absolutely loves throwing things into water.
Okay.
So, he loves to watch that cause and effect. That's your proprioception, that's your vestibular, that is you're watching it hit the ground, that is like things like tactile, that is visual.
That's what Bailey
Darren, that's what that as well. Darren, on our previous podcast, his son's the same with like rice and lentils and watching them kind of disperse everywhere.
Yeah, you're going to see that movement. That is a visual stim. And that is going to then allow you to lean into going, right, they are seeking this, they're loving that. How can I roll this into feeding therapy? How can I roll this into speech therapy? How can I roll this into learning the alphabet? How can I, and then you can be like, right, so we'll get, say you were like, we'll take that rice, drop in rice on the floor. I would get letters, small letters, and drop them on the floor, and then sing the alphabet. And you're going to then have an opportunity to speak. You're going to have an opportunity to interact. Yeah. You're going to get joint engagement, and you're leaning into something that they love, which is dropping that stuff on the floor, and then they're learning.
You're so clever.
And that's.
Can you just come and live with us? I know we're both thinking that while we're listening. Like, just come over.
Come and live with
you.
You need to do this.
Do you know what? The 2-hour drive, we might be able to work something out for a weekend or something.
I mean, you can stay at my house.
Yeah, I'll stay over.
And then we can have a girly night
anyway. Have a girly night. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I'm
gorgeous.
Up for that.
I'm down. So down.
All right, so we need to wrap it up, don't we?
We need to wrap it up. So, but we just want to say.
Famous question.
Well, I've already asked the famous question, but I didn't actually finish the famous question. So I'm going to ask it one more time again, because I did it in the middle. If a parent is starting their journey with raising a child that potentially has ARFID, what advice could you give to them?
So 2. So the first one is let them eat whatever it is at meal times. Just let them. And then try new foods away from meal times in play.
Okay,
Make it fun. Make it fun. And try and stick. So actually 3. Stick to their sensory need, whatever it is. So if they are a dry, crunchy person, they only really eat dry, crunchy snacks. Don't sit there with gooey food, because don't bring out a spaghetti bolognese and play with spaghetti. They're not going to enjoy it, because they like dry, crunchy stuff. So move on to other dry, crunchy stuff. You know, Tommy, we actually played with strawberries because we're a lot further down the line. We've been doing it for a while. We played with strawberries. started in June 2024. He still doesn't eat strawberries, but he loves to play with them, and he now eats Nutri-Grain strawberry bars.
Cool.
And when I ate one, he smelt it and went, strawberry.
Amazing.
Because he recognised the smell from playing with the strawberries.
That's amazing.
And then because it was dry and hard, he tried it, and now he eats them, and they're a great source of fibre.
Brilliant.
And that's from playing with strawberries, not playing with Nutri-Grain bars. So you it's chaining things off of.
Yeah.
So stick to their sensory profile. If they like crunchy stuff, find new crunchy stuff. If they don't eat cereal, make a sand with dry cereal and some cars, and play with the cereal. Let them get used to the smell. Let them get used to what they can see. Let them get used to what's in front of them. They don't have to eat it. They just have to play with it, because that will gradually build up.
And then they're not avoiding it in every type of way.
Yes.
So
and that will help
clever.
Right, well, you better get your tough tray out and we're getting to work.
I've got to get out the garage.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do
Give that a clean.
Thank you.
Summer.
Yeah, exactly. You've been honestly amazing.
Yeah.
It's been so
You're
brilliant.
welcome.
So thank you so
for having
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.